That's like an handle that.
Duck it, I can run it.
Interesting.
I guess I could have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
One of the your reports, I think are good.
Oh, no, no, back when I was on the council, they were in different councils. Or Bobby was. And they can do that, but I haven't met, I haven't played an Irish pro ten. I only did that, so. I didn't have a- need high hopes. You can still run.
You said I did.
The,
Did for that? My bad.
Hospital.
Trying to wrap everything up, man. It's got a client ship of 3,300 pounds this week, so it's been a whirlwind. Trying to get trucks and everything to collect, so it's even better.
So I figured it's fun.
But no, I feel. But no, that's not wrong. That was really there. We did the pound. But they had questions. I was still coming to.
Pretty cheaply built.
Well, unless there's a tie, but.
It's 30 years ago.
On there, right?
And still, he kicked me off.
We had to deal with that. I can't help it.
Trying to find out.
All right. We done mess with that gas line over there now?
Got an old road.
I don't personally touch any of them anymore.
We done with it? I'm looking at, no, it'll be.
He just drives around, looks good in this truck. Keep warm.
Your wife feels. She's great, man. She did great.
Excited about this one. I was quizzing, I'm gonna say today. Seems like we're pretty good today.
Wrestling's property. Games to the whole hurts, yeah. Broke some land up there. We'll see. 9 and.
Generator. I was working from the house. So we, asking the signers to put right together.
I think they went to Bella Vista.
All servicing, they find circle about a rating. So. He stopped.
Different, but no.
You got randomly text.
Got a plan.
Just do that in.
Servicing, you interested? I'm like, sure.
If everything.
Signer.
I did it.
He chose me as signer.
On the notes that I.
I mean, no sign.
Additional use. So, you for this, yeah.
Got like Saturday. Then. Saturday. Don't pay. Great. Working on it. He goes, well, generate's better.
Guys, 1 minute.
Me service.
Yeah.
Generator work. It's.
So I think you
What's name?
off of Wheelmarks.
I'm not.
Yeah.
The hell's whether it's.
Did you guys know
No road runs, you know, Cooper did.
He should work. So then I went out and I started pushing
I
buttons.
think there was 7, 5.
That'll work.
7 over the old.
But he kept tripping like 6 breaks.
He just blocked it.
Ready. So on Monday, he said to me, go to you.
Trying to make sure we get.
I don't.
In front of that brother.
We gotta go. I mean,
Be about an 8.
but that should be.
It's okay to. It's okay to say. I said, I think what's.
I got one the other night, not here, it was.
Buy me a city clerk, big deal.
It's house, 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Taking my life insurance.
Easy. Without knowing how.
Yeah. What is that direction? And the key looked over.
The road, and the road.
Alright, I'm gonna say, sorry.
I don't need service.
Yeah.
Christian, you ready? We're gonna go ahead and get started this evening with the City of Centerton Board of Zoning Adjustments for December 16th, 2025 with the roll call.
Joe Sipar,
I'm here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Tony Davis,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Ben Lewis, Devin Murphy,
Here.
Curtis Ramsey,
Here.
John Sessoms, Brandon Swoboda.
Here.
All right, on our agenda this evening for the BZA is a public hearing. This is for variance 2505 lot 1 of West Wind subdivision phase 1. Code section 14.04.04 D 3B lot width. It is zoned R3 single family with the existing lot width 60.89 and rear 60.13. With the required lot width of 60, there's a requested lot width portion of lot 57. The applicant here to give us a little background on what you're requesting. You will come up and let us know what you're requesting.
Thank you. So after
Your name first. Sorry.
Nye Carnahan with DR Horton Homes.
What you're requesting.
So we would like a lot line adjustment, variance the width of the overall lot. Once the subdivision was final platted, there were some drainage issues that were flooding the lift station. This is a subdivision that we bought, finished lots off of the developer on. We did not develop this property. In doing so, once we met to find out what the required fixes were to help make sure that the lift station does not flood anymore, we needed to put a retaining wall up. Then once they started doing field measurements and modifications, they realized that the fence, the current fence around the lift station was actually on lot 1 and not on the lot B for the lift station. So, once we moved the retaining wall in to fix the drainage issue and put the fence back up, it was decided that it was best for all parties that if we did a lot line adjustment so that the fence, the retaining wall and everything for the lift station was actually on the city of Centerton's property.
Kayla, do you want to cover the city comments?
Oh, yes, so the applicant's requesting a reduction in the lot width minimum 3 feet, so the width at the front is 57 feet instead of the required 60. The lot does still meet the minimum lot area of 6,000 square feet. And as he said, the request for the lot variance is due to flooding on the lift station lot after phase 1 of the West Wind subdivision was final platted. It was discovered that the lift station lot fence was on lot 1 instead of the lift station lot. And then Centerton Utilities requested that a lot line adjustment be done so that all of the appurtenances and fence are on their lot. They were afraid that by doing it by an easement, there could be potential issues with future property owners. And then they considered moving the fence onto the lift station lot, but then there wouldn't be enough room for maintenance. So the only option in this situation was to have a lot line adjustment.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open it up to the public?
And just to clarify, it's only the very front of the lot that needs that lot line adjustment. Like a very tiny sliver along lot B that they're moving 3 feet over.
Okay.
So it looks like the building setback, I can't read it on here, it's blurry, but that's all been adjusted with it.
Yes, and there is a 3-foot drainage easement on lot 1 to help with the grading. So they're moving the lot line over 3 feet and then dedicating a 3-foot drainage easement, and they still have their required 7-foot setback.
That's what I was about to mention, was the house that's built there currently still meets all the requirements for setbacks.
there's not any questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Tony, I second.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. If anyone wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the variance request for lot 25, I'm sorry, variance 2505, lot 1 of the West Wind subdivision phase 1, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name, address, and any questions, comments that you might have. Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. And third and final call. And I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? We do have a couple things that we need to go to, so there'll be a lot of reading over the next few minutes. As we go through our findings of fact, and the findings of fact elements are to be used to clearly establish the basis for granting or denying the approval of the requested variance from the Centerton zoning code per section 14.04.04D. The first one is the preservation of intent that the variance if granted is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations for the district in which development is located. No variance shall have the effect of permitting a use in any district that is not a stated permitted use, accessory use, or conditional use of that particular district. The applicant's response, the variance if granted would be consistent with the permitted uses allowed in the current zoning. Staff findings, the requested variance to reduce the minimum lot width from 60 feet to 57 feet does not alter the permitted uses within the zoning district and does not authorize a use inconsistent with the R3 single family district. The reduction is limited to dimensional requirements only, and the lot otherwise meets the zoning district standard. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, and it looks like, unless I'm reading this wrong, the radius dimension on the frontage, which is where it's typically measured from, is 68 feet.
The second for us to consider is the exceptional circumstances, that exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual conditions or circumstances applying to the lot, parcel, structure, or intended use exists that do not apply to other properties or uses in the same district, which are unique to the individual property under consideration. The applicant's response, lot number 1 is located adjacent to lot B, which is also a lift station site. After final plat approval, the utility department required additional measures to be taken due to the stormwater runoff that was impacting the lift station on lot B. After having an on-site meeting with all department heads, it was agreed that a 3-foot retaining wall should resolve the problem. Upon further review, it was discovered that the fence bordering the lift station was installed on lot number 1 property and not on lot B. If we move the fence to be solely on the lift station lot, it would then allow the utility department enough clearance to maintain the lift station. It would not allow the utility department enough clearance to maintain the lift station. It was discussed the option of lots, number 1, owner dedicating an additional utility easement. The utility department felt that since there would be structures installed in the easement that would be owned and maintained by the city, it would not protect them from the future homeowner potentially. Staff findings, based on the information provided, the lot is uniquely impacted by the adjacent city-owned lift station lot, including the previously installed fence encroachment and the additional stormwater and access needs identified by Centerton Utilities after the final plat approval. These conditions do not appear to apply to other lots within the subdivision and appear to be site-specific circumstances beyond the property owner's control. Staff finds that the lot configuration utility requirements create an unusual circumstance that contributes to the need for the variance. Does anybody disagree with those findings? Hardship, not grounds for variance, that the special conditions and or circumstances do not result from the intended or proposed actions of the applicant. No variance may be granted solely on the basis of economic gain or loss. The applicant's response, in my opinion, the requested variance is not self-imposed by the applicant, rather imposed by limited options be available since the lot already has a home built on it and the lift station is installed that cannot be relocated. The staff findings, the hardship associated with this request results from the conditions that developed after final plat approval. Centerton Utilities required stormwater modifications to address flooding on the lift station lot and discovered that the lift station fence had been installed several feet inside lot one rather than on the lift station parcel. These post-plat conditions reduced the functions of lot one and created access and maintenance constraints that limit the lot's ability to meet the minimum 60-foot width requirement. These circumstances were not created by the applicant and are not related to economic consideration. Staff finds that the hardship is directly tied to unforeseen utility and stormwater issues rather than any action taken by the property owner. Does anybody disagree with those findings? Preservation of property rights. That literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of substantial rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance. The applicant's response, property rights of the applicant are preserved because the reduction of side setback will result in having sewer connectivity. Currently, no homes built in the subdivision will be issued a certificate of occupancy until this issue is resolved. The lot conforms in all other aspects to the R3 single-family zoning district requirements. The staff findings, the unforeseen stormwater requirements and fence encroachment that occurred after final plat approval have created unique constraints on lot one that do not affect other lots within the subdivision. Strict application of the 60-foot minimum width would prevent reasonable development of the lot due to utility access and maintenance needs associated with a corrected lift station improvements. The required variance would restore the applicant's ability to use the property in the same manner as other similarly owned lots and would preserve the property rights that would otherwise be limited by conditions outside the applicant's control. Does anybody disagree with those findings? Absence of detriment, that granting the variance requested will not create substantial detriment to adjacent property or that will materially impair or be contrary to the purpose of and spirit of this chapter or the public interest. The applicant's response, the requested variance will not compromise or impact the value or suitability of the lots, any other lots in the Westwind subdivision or any other surrounding areas of the development. Staff findings. The proposed 3-foot reduction in lot width is not expected to negatively affect surrounding properties. The lot otherwise meets zoning standards and the variance is intended to address the utility access issue that benefits overall subdivision functionality. No evidence has been presented showing that the variance would create adverse impacts, diminish property values, or conflict with the public interest. Does anybody disagree with those findings? In the event the requested variance is to be granted, the BZA needs to state any conditions of approval to be confirmed by the BZA before the motion. And then there's suggested motion for this particular request. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we consider this? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the variance 2505, Lot 1 Westwind subdivision phase 1, with the request to go to 57 feet.
I move to grant the request by DR Horton to reduce the minimum lot width from 60 feet to 57 feet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If you'll do a roll call vote for me, please.
Bird,
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Curtis Ramsey,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Jeff Seifert.
I'm a yes as well. Thank you. Your announcements, we'll have a BZA early next month, the first, just so we can review the minutes and approve those. And with that, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the BZA.
Second.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? I'd like to call to order the City of Centerton Planning Commission for December 16th, 2025 with a roll call.
Jeff Seifert,
I'm here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Tony Davis,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Ben Lewis, Devin Murphy.
Here.
Curtis Ramsey.
Here.
John Sessoms. Brandon Kubota.
Here.
All right, first thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our meeting of 12/2 of 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 12/2/25.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the ratification of the admin approvals, which there are four. One's a home occupation, one's a track split. Sorry, there's three track splits for the admin approvals. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners or staff in regards to the admin approvals?
For the Johnson track split, you will also have a rezone coming up in the new business because they are creating two lots that don't meet agricultural. So they're requesting RE.
And then, the second track split on there is for the lot line adjustment variance that you just approved. And then just as a note, the stone lay, access easement, that's for the, 50-foot access easement into stone lay so that the property on either side can get entrances.
If there's no questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion to approve the admin approvals.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve the administrative approvals.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, under old business this evening, first thing is subdivision 2308, the 10th United States. The request is for a 1-year extension of preliminary approval. It is at North Vaughn Road, highway, also known as Highway 279 South. South of Holloway Road, it is zoned R3 D and C3, 54.42 acres with 66 dwelling units. Kayla, do you want to just give us a quick overview, or is there anything special we need?
The plans and the adjacent street agreement have been approved by staff. There's one very minor labeling thing they need to fix on their pre-com plan set. But the project was approved by you guys in December of 2023, and then an extension was granted in December of 2024. So they're asking for another extension, due to the sewer capacity constraints. They're not able to start construction yet.
Okay. Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 2308, the Tanzania Estates request for a 1-year extension of preliminary approval.
This is Craig. I make a motion to approve the 1-year extension for Tanzanite Estates.
Second. Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Under new business this evening, we have two public hearings. The first public hearing is for a conditional use. It's conditional use 20, the Townview Food Truck Court, sorry. Mobile food vendor and food truck. It's at 1092 North Main Street. It is zoned C3. It's just over 1 acre. And is the applicant or engineer here to give us an overview of what you're requesting?
Evan McMahon, Craft Toll, the engineer for the project. I'll represent this tonight. So yeah, as you mentioned, the property owner proposing a conditional use permit for a food truck court. What we're initially proposing is to have 10 pads. That's something that we could adjust if needed. There's an existing house located on the site, being rented out right now. The intent is to do some minor ADA renovations to the first floor to allow that to be used for just indoor seating. There won't be any food service in there. And to provide restrooms for the outdoor seating for the outdoor uses. So as you can see, we've got some additional parking being built in order to accommodate the food trucks. That's a ratio of 3 parking stalls for every 1 truck pad. I think that's the same as what's on the existing food truck court right across the street here. And most of the, yeah, so you can see the food truck pads on the west side of the east parking lot there. And then there will be some landscaped and paved areas in between that and the house for some outdoor seating, picnic table. Obviously, there will be stormwater and utility improvements associated with this. That's something that would be worked out in the site plan review, not the CUP, but we can elaborate on what our intent is for those items. And then due to the zoning, this would require a type C landscape buffer. East and south sides of our parcel. Buffer between the commercial use and the residential zoning on the adjacent parcels. And that's, I believe, a 6-foot opaque buffer and then a evergreen landscape buffer behind that, which would be a height of, I think, 45 feet in maturity, so pretty substantial buffer requirement there. And then there would be some additional landscape buffers on the other two sides of the parcel as well. Believe the operating hours that we've initially proposed is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and that's mainly to allow vendors to get there early and start prepping the food, not necessarily that there'll be people arriving to eat that early. Again, that's something that we could adjust if there's a specific concern related to that. But served by septic, their intent is to have a septic designer analyze that system to double check that it is sufficient to handle the flows from this use. If not, then there will be a conversation about tying into sewer if possible at that point. But yeah, that's something that's a part of the site plan review. We could have a discussion on that for, you know, certainly, but not related to the use necessarily in this case. But happy to answer any questions that you all might have with it, any residents make sense.
What sort of screening are you proposing? Sorry.
Yeah, very good. It's type C, so there's in the new, you guys might know more, but I think the options are on the interior side of that buffer. There's a 6-foot requirement that can either be a big wall, a fence or something, or kind of big wall, berm, or some kind of evergreen shrub that's at least 6 feet high. Fence would probably be the best approach to that. Then behind that, yeah, there you go. They require an evergreen, I'm assuming like an arborvitae or some similar kind of tree, evergreen tree that would reach height of 45 feet of maturity. That
So you're just planning to stick to that. I didn't see anything specifically called out, but you're just saying that.
Well, yeah, we called that like a type C buffer. We didn't show any plantings. We haven't gotten that far on the design yet. And that would be, like I said, on the east side to between that neighbor and the south side as well.
Barry, you want to give us a staff overview, please?
Yes, the applicant is proposing use 117, which is the food truck court use. At 1092 North Main Street. The intent is to provide parking, food truck trailer pads, indoor and outdoor seating. We received 4 emails for public comment and a citizen's petition, and all public comments received are in your packet for us to review during that time. And they met all of their public hearing requirements. Like I stated before, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a food truck court on 1.07 acres located on the southeast corner of North Main Street and Townview Road, and it's zoned C3, which is our neighborhood commercial. Per Title 14, mobile food trucks are conditional in C3 zoning districts. All improvements to the property will go through a large-scale development process after conditional use is approved. Proposed use will include 10 food trucks or trailers, parking, outdoor seating areas, sidewalk, and remodel to the existing home on site for indoor seating, storage, and restrooms. For staff findings, the current zoning is C3, which is a zone primarily for convenience shopping and services, which is grocery stores, barber and beauty shops, laundromats, drugstores, taverns, professional offices, and similar uses. And the setbacks are listed in your packet for you. For the surrounding zones and uses, to the north of Townview is the Tuscany subdivision, which is zoned R2. To the south is a residential estate parcel, which is zoned A1. To the east is a residential estate parcel zoned R2, and the Terra Knolls subdivision, which is also zoned R2. To the west across North Main Street are undeveloped parcels which are zoned C3. And to the southwest is the Lane Bridge subdivision zoned R2. This parcel is located on a major intersection with both roads being arterial that serve as the main north-south and east-west connections. Additionally, the comprehensive plan calls for larger neighborhood commercial development, which due to its size has the ability to serve the entire northern half of the city rather than just adjacent residences. Capacity and scale necessitates stronger design standards to ensure compatibility with the neighboring residential. And attached, I have provided the allowed and the conditional uses for C3 zoning specifically, so it'll be what's by right versus and what is conditional in this zone. For the proposed improvements, they're proposing the 10 food trucks on trailer pads that are sized 26.5 feet through about 29.5 feet by 11 feet, because it's a range of different sizes. They're proposing 3 parking stalls per truck, a remodel of the existing house for indoor seating, restrooms and storage, sidewalk improvements, and landscaping. The additional items will be considered with the large-scale development. That includes the site lighting, the access drives from Town View, utility hookups for each food truck and trailer, and the trash enclosure area. There are no floodplain or floodway or wetlands present on the site. This property is on septic and has water service through Centerton Utilities. With the large-scale development, they may be required to disconnect from septic connection and connect to Centerton sewer. The property is located, as stated before, on the southeast corner of North Main Street, which is designated as a minor arterial on the master street plan with a right-of-way of 90 feet. Town View is designated as a major arterial with a right-of-way of 100 feet. Right-of-way has been dedicated along North Main Street and Town View. However, with the large-scale development, the right-of-way will need to be adjusted to meet full width requirements. For the proposed conditions of approval, the Planning Commission reserves the authority to modify, add, or remove conditions as necessary to ensure the conditional use meets the intent of the city's development standards and is compatible with surrounding properties. For the term of approval. Term of approval is permanent or until the food truck court use is disconnected, subject to compliance with all conditions of approval. Approval of this use permit expires upon discontinuation of the approved use after 1 year and will require reapplication and reapproval. Large-scale development plans must be submitted within 1 year of Planning Commission approval. If this condition is not met, this conditional use will require reapproval. Approval of this use permit will expire 1 year after large-scale development plans are approved by Planning Commission if construction has not begun, and will require reapplication and reapproval. For the maximum number of food trucks, up to 10 food trucks are allowed on site in locations designated on the approved large-scale development site plan. I want to give you guys for reference, the food truck court along Highway 102 was approved with 11 food trucks.
What size is it? Do you know off the top of your head?
0.89 acres,
Sorry,
0.89
it's
acres.
a little bit less.
Yes.
The trucks will maintain 10-foot minimum separation or per most current fire and building codes. Food trucks shall be located interior to the site, similar to the concept plan provided with this request. For maximum food truck and pad size, designated food truck pads is proposed as continuous concrete with the following pad dimensions, which is listed in your packet. I don't want to read all of those out for you, but the applicant did not propose a food truck size. So for staff findings, we found that an average food truck length ranges from 14 to 16 feet. Food truck sized 18 to 20 feet are more typical for having several employees and serving high volume areas. The width of an average food truck is about 8 feet. The new food trucks at the Centerton Food Truck Court on Highway 102 are limited to 14 feet to 16 feet in length and 7 to 8 feet in width. Staff does recommend setting a maximum food truck and or pad size, but you guys can think about it and we can come back to it. I wanted to put that in there for you guys to consider. Construction of outside storage structures or the storing of materials on the pads outside of trucks or trailers is not permitted. If outdoor storage becomes necessary in the future, the conditional use request must be revised to include details of the proposed outdoor storage will require approval from staff and planning commission. For entrance access, access to the site is going to be finalized during the large-scale development review and will be based on required driveway distances from the intersection of Townview and North Main Street. All food trucks shall have pedestrian access. Main pedestrian sidewalks to the front of the food trucks shall be a minimum of 10 feet. A minimum of 3 parking spaces per food truck shall be provided. All parking areas shall be paved and striped in accordance to city standards. Hours of operations will be limited to between 6 AM and 10 PM, 7 days a week. Individual food trucks may be varied hours within this range. Restroom facilities shall be permanently installed and serve all food truck vendors and patrons. Restrooms interior to the home must be accessible to the public during all hours of operation and comply with ADA requirements. Portable toilets shall not be permitted except on a temporary basis for special events and will require city staff approval via a special permit. Any use of the existing house for indoor seating, restrooms, or storage shall require the structure to be brought into compliance with all current building, fire, and accessibility codes. Plans for the remodel must be submitted, reviewed, and approved by the building and fire departments prior to any construction. Indoor seating may not be occupied until all inspections are completed and a certificate of occupancy is issued. For landscape requirements, landscaping shall follow all Title 15 requirements and be installed as shown on the large-scale development plans. Landscape requirements per Title 15 are as follows. 150804 street tree standards is the street trees along collector and higher classification streets shall be large species trees as provided in the appendix, with all small and medium species planted along local. 150805 for the site development landscape standards has 2 requirements. In B, a minimum of a 10-foot wide landscaped area shall be provided along the front property line between the building face and the roadway. For C, parking lots containing 5 or more spaces shall be buffered from the public right-of-way and adjacent properties. For 150808 screening requirements, there's one requirement, which is the screen type C, which is required along the south and east property lines to provide a medium-high level of screening between different areas. For your guys' consideration, they are proposing a landscape seating area. There are no code requirements for additional landscaping for outdoor seating areas, and the Planning Commission may consider whether additional landscaping is appropriate to enhance the site aesthetic, define the seating space, or provide a screen to public right-of-way. Any landscaping beyond the minimum code requirements is at the discretion of the Planning Commission and may be added as a condition of approval if deemed necessary. For site maintenance, each vendor shall be responsible for maintaining the area and facilities within their respective pads. The owner of the property shall be responsible for the maintenance of all of the common areas, landscaping, utilities, restrooms, and the insurance of site compliance. For general conditions, it's kind of the same as most of our conditional uses, but I will read through them. For license and permits, all required permits and license from the city, state, and federal shall be acquired and copies provided to the city as requested. For code compliance, all construction will meet current codes. Following planning approval, all building construction plans submitted to and approved by the building department. No portion of the site may be occupied or operated until all inspections are complete and the certificate of occupancy has been issued. For any future modifications to the site, which could include site lighting, development, building additions or changes, landscaping, parking areas, etc., it will require separate review and approval of such plans and will comply with the applicable sections of City Code Chapters 14 for zoning regulations and 15 for development regulations as amended by these general requirements. For signage, same as every conditional use, owner or applicant shall make application for and obtain any required signage permits from the city of Centerton. That goes through Public Works. This permit will be subject to review by the planning department or code enforcement personnel for compliance should any issues arise which could affect public health, safety, and welfare. If any complaints are received from neighbors or city personnel, this permit may be brought back to the planning commission for consideration of amending terms or revoking the permit. For basis for termination, violation of any of the listed conditions could be basis for terminating conditional use permit and approval granted by the planning commission. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tara. The overall comments or questions from any of the commissioners before we open it up to the public?
Is this food truck use conditional throughout all commercial zonings? Okay. But it looked like, just for instance, you could have a retail with a gross square footage under 4,000 by right. Grocery store, florist shop. Well, I mean, what stood out to me was the 15 to 20 employees and 35. Seems like it could be a challenge.
Which is today, if I remember what you said correctly, what I read, I mean, we have 3 as a requirement for what's across the street per food truck.
Over here.
Yeah.
They do exceed that amount, but that was the minimum that we put on that.
I mean. I don't drive by there too often, but I don't see it crazy jam packed all the time. I don't know about y'all. Have you seen any issues of it?
I had to park in the back lot I call it the back lot one time, but other than that, I've never noticed anything, or we've not had any complaints about parking.
And I will say there won't be gravel on this lot. It all has to be paved.
Right, yeah.
Every bit of it, either concrete or asphalt.
Okay. I will go ahead and entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. I will read the letters after we've opened up to the public here. If you wish to speak, have any questions, comments, or concerns, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name, address, and again, any questions, comments, concerns you might have. And as a courtesy to others that wish to speak, we would ask that you limit your time in the 3-minute range. Is there anyone that would like to speak?
And Jeff, just real quick, I'd like to make a note. I can't help but notice that the mayor and multiple city council members are here. And looking through the packet, I can see that this is a very polarizing matter that's coming up in front of the court. So I'd just like to advise the mayor and council members of the new FOIA laws that came through in August that prohibit polling, deliberation, expressing or exchanging views of an official action that may be taken outside a public meeting. Now, this is a public meeting. It's not a city council meeting. So I don't know that the law is completely clear of whether or not it's appropriate for them to speak or not. That said, if the planning commission were to deny this item, then it could be appealed to the city council. And I think that would cause great concerns if city council members are expressing an opinion on something that they may be voting on later. So I would ask that you all just be very, very cautious and mindful that we're in a little bit of a muddy area there. Thank you.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak?
Brought my notes because I'm not a good public speaker, so I'll have to read, unfortunately. Cindy Zimstein, 230 Townview Road, Centerton. This is what I'm going to do here is just elaborate a little bit more on the email that I sent to all the planners. Although the property is currently zoned C3 commercial, this zoning classification is designed for low intensity neighborhoods serving retail and service issues, which you all have mentioned. A 10-unit food truck with indoor dining, 30+ vehicle capacity, outdoor seating, site lighting, and 15 to 20 employees goes far beyond what C3 zoning intended and carries numerous negative impacts for surrounding residents and property. In my opinion, the proposed food truck court is too intense for a 1 acre C3 lot. A 10-pad food truck complex functions like a highway commercial restaurant court, not neighborhood commercial, which you all have been referencing this other one, but that is highway commercial, not residential commercial. The site is inadequate. 1 acre cannot safely support 10 food trucks, 2 parking lots, indoor dining, storage, seating, circulation, buffering, and drainage. And someone said that it is not prone to flooding. It is. That's where I lived for 7 years. And once the construction or the street lights were put in and all of the sidewalk was rearranged there on the corner of Townview and Main on the Tuscany side, when we have heavy rainfalls quickly or a lot over time. 1092 Main Street does flood. I've called the mayor about it before and I've called the state about it before. I feel like that lot is incompatible with surrounding high-value homes. Surrounding residents face reduced property values, noise, traffic odors, lighting, and sanitation concerns. The harms grossly outweigh the supposed benefits. It will be a source of noise due to the generators, fans, cars, customers, music. She mentioned special events. It'll be constant noise for 16 hours a day. The odors from 10 food truck outdoors cannot be contained on a 1 acre site. Lighting that shielding cannot prevent significant light spillover when commercial light is feet from the residential property lines. Light intrusion reduces buyer's appeal and is considered an adverse external influence. Waste. 10 food trucks sharing 1 trash enclosure invites odors, overflow, rodents, and sanitation risk. Food truck waste, grease, and trash create sanitation problems that decrease neighborhood desirability. And I have a note here. The current property owners have had a season of proven property management and they failed miserably. There is debris on the ground still from the tornadoes. The shed is still without a roof. The lawn was consistently past the 12 inches maximum height all summer. My mistake was trying to be neighborly and not report them. In my opinion, the only time someone was hired to mow was at the end of the season when the decision was made to create an incompatible business. The traffic, 10 trucks plus 15 to 20 employees, customers will increase traffic substantially. Overflow parking will spill into the residential streets and neighboring driveways. We see this happening daily on 8th Street in Bentonville with only 3 food trucks. I've even been one that had to go into into a neighboring property because we couldn't get proper parking at the trucks. And the last point I wanted to address is a confirmed threat to property values. Research and appraisal data show residential values drop 5 to 20% to adjacent incompatible commercial uses. High-end buyers avoid neighborhoods experiencing commercial encroachment. Perception alone results in measurable value reduction. USPAP requires appraisers to apply negative adjustments for incompatible adjacent uses, noise, odors, traffic, and lighting. Appraisal research shows noise reduction reduces home values by 1 to 10% depending on the intensity. High value residential areas are especially sensitive to odor pollution, and real estate studies confirm that odor sources are a major contributor to declining property values. Odor pollution typically lowers residential values by 5 to 15%. In conclusion, food truck courts of this intensity typically require 2 to 3 acres to accommodate circulation, parking, utilities, outdoor gathering, and noise buffers. A 1 acre parcel parcel cannot safely or responsibly support the intensity of this development. For these reasons, I respectfully request that you deny this proposal. This development is not appropriate for our neighborhood and does not uphold the intent of C3 neighborhood commercial zoning. Thank you and for your time and consideration. And I know with these percentages for home values, I do have citations. I know how Jeff likes documented proof, and I brought it if you'd like to see them. They're research studies from universities, from the real estate board and other sources, if you'd like these.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. My name's Robert Sleva. I live at 1072 Main Street. And I agree with what Cindy has said. I don't have all the research, haven't done all the research that she has, but what I can say is that area is extremely congested, especially at the times of the day when you're typically going to have the meal traffic. First thing in the morning, school's open, lunchtime, school's getting out. It's very hard to get out onto that intersection. It's very congested. The addition of a business of this size is just going to complicate that much more. We just don't have the infrastructure yet. I'm not against progress. I'm not against anything like that. But at this point in time, we can't handle that kind of traffic. I don't know that our utilities are ready to add a whole lot more. We've got a lot of water improvements that need to be done and things. So outside of just my own, I really think that this is something that we're just not ready for in this area. And I agree with a lot of the other opportunities there. One of the things that I've experienced that that the neighbors haven't is the confusion about which driveway is which. Because the entrance onto Main Street is very close to mine. And my driveway gets blocked frequently with people thinking that they're going into the other driveway. Converse is true too. People come into my house frequently go into the other one. My concern is overflow is going to go in and completely block me out at times. And I just think that's a real concern for safety and everything. Being able to get in, safety, people being able to get into my place. So I appreciate the time. Thank you for your consideration.
Else wish to speak? Second call. And third call before I read some of the additional information that we received in the package.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to,
I'm sorry, let me finish the,
oh, my bad.
let me just,
We had to do that during the public hearing.
I think it's better that we do it during the public hearing. I'm gonna read, if anything, I'm not gonna read these specific. One is extremely long. I'm gonna highlight each one of them if there's anything that's any different. This particular person just opposes the establishment. Talk about the guidelines of C2 versus C3. And then a reference to potentially the food truck court being a junk. And then the fact there's what I'll call busy corner, which would also, I would term as traffic. That's from Chris. He lives up the street. This one, this is from you guys. So I think, again, the same thing. This is from 1072. Things I think that were mentioned: traffic, access to the property, sanitation, any of the grounds, which was referenced also by Cindy, and air, light, and noise. And we'll talk about those in just a second. Some additional questions just that might preference some things that we may or may not consider, but how often does trash have to be picked up? Are there any regulations in regards to that? as well as a barrier, which I think they covered some of the barriers tonight, that's required in a commercial development. And then, I don't know that the entrance to Main and or access to Town View is really part of what we consider tonight. We would really consider that whenever we do, the large scale, development process, which is also open to the public, by the way, that would be, published on the agenda, as a review. This one, I'm gonna read the highlights. This is, there's a couple things I highlighted and they're in bold, so it'll be easy for me to highlight. The first one is this project is too intense for a 1 acre lot, and exceeds the C3 intent. Traffic will overflow local streets, potential with neighborhood safety. 15 to 20 employees plus some indoor seating. Really makes it a full-scale restaurant, not a neighborhood use, which I believe a full-service restaurant may actually be allowed in this, not, okay. Sorry, I read the wrong chart. Noise pollution will be continuous from 6 AM until 10 PM. Odors and air quality issues will affect nearby homes and businesses. 30 parking stalls is far below what this intensity requires. Light pollution will affect nearby properties. Trash volume and sanitation risks are significant. Stormwater runoff will dramatically increase. This use does not align with the purpose of neighborhood commercial. Once approved, the use cannot easily be reversed. And that's the primary basis for the highlights of that, along with the petition that was shared. It looks like multiple neighborhoods, not just one neighborhood. So there appears to be some from Terra Knowles, Main Street, Haas, Skinner, which is the one across the street in south west. So there's a variety of signatures on here from the neighborhoods. The last one is just it may be to you, Cindy. I don't know. I can't tell this, but referencing that you can share the same the same questions or comments. Okay, so. Now I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
We'll try it again. This is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for conditional use of 2520 Town View Food Truck Court.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? Okay. As a reminder, what we're considering this evening is the condition, the use, which potentially impacts the large scale because there are some questions around the number of trucks, sizes of the pads and some other things. But this evening specific around the actual potential use and the condition that's required for the food truck. So with that, I would open it up to any questions or comments from any of the commissioners.
I'll go first. In the current zoning section number 1, the staff report, it mentions uses by right that could be built there. One of those references a tavern. I don't see that on the actual use sheet. And my follow-up question would be, how do you delineate? What's the definition between that and a restaurant per se? Is it allowed?
That was part of the reasoning that I had mentioned that I thought a restaurant, I had referenced that because I don't know what all the laws are in Arkansas around a certain percentage and other things before you call it a tavern or a bar or anything like that.
Description of that zoning district so that A tavern is more like a small
Sure.
drink establishment.
Like
So-
a.
Tavern usually indicates that there's
What?
alcohol being served.
But it's allowed in that use then according to,
Not necessarily, it could be, but there may be, if it's conditional, then it could be allowed, but there would be conditions being set by the planning commission.
And it is something that could be conditionally set on C3. And that's why I think it states at the end, like in the type of surrounding use is that it has stronger design standards in the comp plan is the way that it states that too.
What would that fall under? Use.
What does it fall under?
Tavern?
I look at it as more low, so you look at what's going up north with the pickleball, they have like a tavern in there. Where they'd have they have the bar there, but it doesn't have a full restaurant.
Sure.
So that's the way I see the difference between a tavern.
I
and alcohol sales, so.
agree with that for sure. I'm just wondering, I don't see any food related stuff other than the mobile vendor food truck as a listed use.
In the restaurant diner. The alcohol sale,
Not a-
on premise consumption
Diners.
is conditional also.
Retail.
Oh, if you look retail on the right side, a little past halfway down.
Yeah.
But right on mobile food vendor. And then the on-premise and off-premise consumption.
It's all conditional.
So you could have a bakery, confectionery shop,
Yeah, sure.
florist.
Retail store, 4,000 gross square feet or less.
your question, or does it generate more?
No, it does.
Okay. Do you have other questions or comments? Sure. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
I think just to follow up on Joey, I just wonder, having 20 food trucks within just 1 mile, 1.5 mile radius is the best use. And number two, we've talked about local neighborhoods and services in the northern half of the city. I feel like there's a lot of really good C3 by right uses on here that would better serve the city versus 10 more food trucks a mile away from 10 food trucks that already exist.
I'm in a different camp. In a way, because, when you think about, food trucks, when you think about the local piece of it, the potentially different eclectics, of food that you could have. The fact that, there's a lot of improvements that are being made up in that area around sidewalks. Go down, what's the road to the west of there? Seba, where they're preparing for all the sidewalks. You've got neighborhoods to the north, you've got neighborhoods, there's a lot of connectivity there. When I think about neighborhood, commercial type of, situation, this one allows people to potentially walk there and gather as we think about connecting different things together. And so I'm in a slightly different camp just because of that, because I would never walk down Main Street and try to get to the food trucks that are down here. I wouldn't ride a bike. I wouldn't do any of that stuff, in today's world. So it serves its purpose because you have a lot of, homes that are north. If you're lucky and play Frogger across from the south, you can get to it as well. Are they too close? I don't know what the answer is, I don't know if
That's not for us to judge, but.
But, the fact that it opens up, the potential for, folks in the northern part of the city to experience some of those. Just throwing it out there as I think about it a little bit different, from a gathering space. So that's just throw that out there as well.
I don't disagree with you, Jeff. I think it would be heavily used by the surrounding neighborhoods, and there's a crosswalk, on the east side of Town View, on the east side of that intersection across Town View. You could pick up all of Sienna, Terra Knowles, Tuscany, everything to the west. I think it's really tricky to execute correctly, for sure.
I think it is as well. Well, let me, you guys think about, I'm gonna just address a few of the things that were brought up and kind of how they're handled from a conditional use. The first, or one of the comments was around, you know, ability for a conditional use to be reconsidered, if you will. And so it's written so that if there's any sort of complaint, I would say any complaint that's a substantial complaint that doesn't conform to what we approve from a condition. This particular is always open for folks to come to us and share any concerns in regards to a conditional use that's been approved. And at that point, then we would consider it as a planning commission, and there is a chance that it could be withdrawn. And so that is actually part of the condition. Once it's agreed upon, then we do have the option, if somebody does happen to bring that back to us, for us to consider. From a development plan, trying to address a few of the things that were brought up. Noise is probably one of the hardest to control, I would say, but you know, that would be something that we would consider. Lighting, they would have to provide a lighting plan that would show to us that there's no light pollution that is on to neighboring properties. If I go back to noise, some of our landscaping things that we just put in place in our Title 15 are designed to really help around noise pollution, light pollution, noise pollution, and things like that. So we did just implement some pretty significant changes there. Flooding was brought up. It's something as part of a large scale development that we would have to review from a development perspective. I don't know the answer to how often trash is picked up, but it's certainly something that we could ask. I just don't know that, or even if it's something that we need to consider. Parking, you know, today, the one we have in town is 3 per truck. They actually have more than that. They have a little more than that, but the minimum that we put on them is 3 to 1. Again, we've not had any complaints as a city is really the thing that we have to go off of, you know, in regards to what's the right number of, you know, parking. Cindy, thanks for sharing the value. It's something that we need to think about. But the potential there, we kind of live in a little bubble when it comes to value sometimes, but it's certainly something that we need to think about. Traffic is traffic. I drive in it every day, just like everybody else. This is a busy area, but there's a lot of places in town that are extremely busy, for sure. And I think that was most of what was brought up and how some of those are handled from a large scale development perspective. And again, if it were to be approved and move forward, then the developer would be responsible for coming to us with a large scale development, and that is open to. Any other questions or comments from the commission or staff before we consider the conditional use?
No question.
Yes,
So the current food truck court we got, is that on regular sewer or is that on septic also?
On sewer,
It's on regular sewer, so it's got its own grease trap and all that stuff.
sewer cleanup.
So my question is, with all these vendors with their food trucks, typically, I don't know how that would work for the sewer to implement some kind of grease, because these
They
vendors
can
will
still
be,
have a grease trap the same, right?
that's what I'm asking. I don't know.
Yeah, and
Can they put that on the, is that a?
Well, I think we handle that during the plumbing stuff with the large scale.
Yeah, the big thing tonight is
Through the large scale development, and with it being septic, it goes to the state to review those, cause they permit all the septic. They're gonna do the full analysis on is it still working the way its size was? Do they have to enlarge it? What can it support for number? So would they have to do a hybrid of use the restrooms inside, still on the septic, and connect all the sewers to all the trucks to a sewer? All that would go through the state permitting, and if it has to then connect to the sewer, all that through our utility department as well.
If it were approved with septic, I guarantee you it would be temporary.
Yeah.
Until they could tie to city septic, but, you know, on that note, there was some requirements on the front end that you went over about submittals and construction. Can you like go through those one more time? I'm trying to figure out how that will impact them. Personally, I believe it's gonna be really hard for them to get a septic approval for a commercial design of this nature, especially retrofitting an old one, with this limited space. So I would presume that it would be a requirement for them to connect to city sewer. Obviously, that is up in the air right now. As far as timeline, but there was like a year requirement that they have from approval of this to break ground.
I think it could also just act as like a, if it were to be approved with the conditions that we have set. It could like come back subdivision or development one, and you guys could reconsider things at the time too, because a lot can happen in a year. And it could be kind of an extension, that the condition.
They have a year to submit a development plan.
Right, and that kicks,
In another year.
And then another year.
oh, the way it was presented at first, I thought there was instead of the year timeline on the large scale to break ground, that's typical. It sounded like there was a year requirement on the conditional use itself to start construction.
The large scale must be submitted within a year of the planning commission approval now. And then if it's not met at that time, it will have to come back to you guys. Like if they haven't submitted a large scale development plan to us.
They have a year for large scale submittal, and then after their large scale is approved, they have a year.
Yeah. I will suggest though, with the conditions, since the circumstances of this is, there are a lot of conditions set forth in this based on what is proposed. If there are any conditions you guys want to change, I recommend doing them now before vote, because if it does get approved, these are the way the conditions will be laid for the site. So I would take the time to go through these.
We'll go through those here in just a second then.
Okay.
I do want to mention on the current. What I have, I believe, that I've seen is that the people operating the food trucks, that they park in the Harps parking lot to allow those spaces to be used by customers. So, I mean, want to re-look at the number of parking spaces that are needed. If we have only 30 spaces required and there's 15 being used, you know, by food truck owners, that doesn't leave that many for customers.
I think it's mixed over there on some conversations, because Harps doesn't necessarily like them parking there.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
There would not be spaces for others, not for.
Maybe that's part of the number of trucks that we consider then, that
That's right.
we could go down in trucks. Keep the same parking spaces potentially, and then that might help that out a little bit.
You mentioned there was gonna be seating inside as well. Okay, does that limit one's ability to live in part of the house, but also have a commercial space?
Once they change it from residential to commercial, even in building, I think that they can no longer live on site, yeah. Based on the building and fire code.
Well, I mean, you can do a mixed use, a mixed type. We have other businesses that have commercial in the bottom, residential, that you have to do
You can.
things.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Code pretty much allows you to do almost anything you're willing to pay for. There's gonna have to be a lot of remodel, because this was a residential occupancy, now it's a commercial, so you're gonna have to upgrade. And I haven't even begun to look into what all that is gonna entail, but Rob and I have had conversation about this, and there's gonna be some changes that'll have to be made. That way it can be a
commercial structure as opposed to a residential structure.
As far as parking goes, I think, you know, whatever's determined on the sewer, if it is required to hook to city sewer. The only reason you're seeing this layout with nothing up there is because you can't have any construction activities over the septic field, so. There could be opportunities to adjust the food truck location and gain parking stalls as well. But I think it'd be important to set that. I also think it's hard to compare apples to oranges with the Harps parking lot and assuming people are parking there when we have a set, you know, parking ratio of 1 to 3. That's gonna be challenging. What are the street landscape requirements just for everybody on the?
For all of them? Or just along the front? With-
Yeah, we've discussed the type C buffer along the east and south.
And then they'll be required to do street trees and their specifications based on the type of road that they're in front of. And then it is on top of street trees as well. They have to do like the parking lot has to be buffered in a certain way. And then it's also like the addition to like keeping trees out of green space in the right of way where utilities lie. We have that 10-foot landscape buffer that's required along the frontage of the lot. Outside of utility easements, things like that. So pretty dense screening, but you guys also have the opportunity to request additional if there's spaces on the site you believe need to be screened from public right-of-way view, adjacent properties, etc. You can really propose any type of landscaping. And this conditional use will be taken to that development, and they'll have to follow those rules on top of what we require per code as well.
And that 10-foot landscape buffer requires shrubs. And then the parts of the parking lot that aren't next to the right of way still have to have a 5-foot buffer. If it's adjacent to another property, it has a 5-foot. And those are also shrubs.
So with them meeting the master street plan right away with, that still allows them 1 acre.
I don't think they do. This says 45 and they said 100 earlier.
That's why I was, because we're talking about a 1 acre, but if you take the requirements of the master street plan right away, that's gonna.
So they already have a lot of right of way dedicated. There are just some pieces of the right of way that need like 5 or so additional feet on the north side, and then I think along Main Street, I really would take this concept plan as a grain of salt, by the way, because they might not be following all regulations to what is required. But I know Townview needs a little bit more right of way, and then on Main Street, they have already dedicated right of way, but there are some things that need to be straightened up to meet the minimum requirement. But all of that comes with the large scale development. Yeah.
You were 100 and what was Townview?
Townview is the 100, Main Street is the 90.
Oh,
It doesn't.
Yeah, perfect sense.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's some right of way restrictions on the north side of town because of the stone wall from Tuscany though.
It's like that. It's gonna come straight across.
We decided to take it from the other.
Yeah, we decided to go to the south.
Yeah. Based on that. No, but definitely take the dimensioning of some of this stuff lightly, because it's just a concept. Sure. But they'll follow all those regulations. Everything has to fit within those parameters. If they lose a parking stall because of the right of way, then they lose a parking stall because of the right of way. The conditions are set as basically maximums of what they can actually produce on the site. They can go well below what we are requiring of them. If the site has the constraints. Minimums, not maximums, minimums, my bad. That's what I meant. I understood. One of those M words.
I'm really gonna challenge y'all to go look in a book here for a second. If someone was to build a restaurant that would have indoor seating, what would the parking requirements be? And what?
One per 200 square feet for retail and stuff like that.
400.
So we did the math on like a less than 4,000 square foot retail, it's about 20 parking spaces, which is what's allowed by right. But if they come back with a conditional use to go above 4,000 and it's 4,100, then you're looking at like 22 spaces.
Okay, per the code, retail stores providing goods and services, offices, restaurants and taverns, a minimum of 1 parking space for each 200 square feet of floor space.
You only looking at the floor space of the existing structure?
This one,
Yeah, when you calculate how many.
We do it
We're looking
per-
at parking right now.
We're looking at food truck,
Yeah.
not floor space of the building, because the floor space of the building is strictly for parking or for seating. They're not providing any goods or services in that.
So it's like a restaurant, you would have the seating area plus the kitchen. I look at the food trucks like the kitchen. So you would count both, right?
Cause you'd have outdoor,
This does not include any of the seating area in the.
we just
And the-
considered food truck.
But it should,
Point it should.
my point is, should we be
Right.
counting it?
Well,
We're calculating for parking space.
yes.
because they're gonna have tables, right? I mean, I'm assuming.
So it's still, I mean, if you did, it would be 1 per 200. square feet. Regardless,
And
How
there,
many square feet?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So a food truck is 8 by 14 and a house is.
What about the one
The house is 2,300,
24, yeah,
use 2,400 square feet.
so 12.
So you got 12 parking spots, just if we use the maximum, understand that not all of it would be seating.
And then maybe one for, maybe one stall for each food truck if they're 100.
Yeah, that's kind of how that works out.
So they're still over. It's 22.
Outdoor seating, which typically if a restaurant had like an outdoor deck, we would make them calculate their outdoor seating also.
The house and the food trucks, that's 22 required. And if you add the outdoor seating, I'm sure you get close to the 30.
Oh. Maybe this isn't our concern, but I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. You've got this building there where you've got people in there. But there's nobody. There's just customers going in there like. To me, that seems problematic, especially with. I don't know, I know we live in a safe community, but I've lived at other places where they're not, and it starts with just a hangout place. And like, how do you monitor that, or who even cleans up in there and make sure that it's sanitary? That seems like it should be a concern when we're thinking about this.
I think the property owner said that they would be maintaining those spaces.
And it's a condition too on it, that it has to be maintained, so if I'm.
Yeah.
Enjoying the space and I notice that it's a little rugged and I don't see someone nearby that is. Monitoring it, I can bring it up as a complaint to the city and care of it, because they're not following a condition set.
Per the condition, the owner of the property shall be responsible for the maintenance of all common spaces, landscaping, utilities, restrooms, and ensuring site compliance.
So that was another, like, you've got these people basically renting a spot. And then you've got people eating, you know how the wind picks up, like, I can see who's gonna pick the trash out of the trees. So that's also part of that.
Making sure the site's maintained.
Cause the person who's leasing that spot is responsible for their spot. And the owner would be responsible for every seating area, common space, what have you. Trash in the trees. Trash in the trees.
So if there's trash in the trees or the place is a mess. Resident calls in, who are they calling, and then what's the process from there for bringing the owner in? And holding them accountable.
Well,
How do you
it
take-
could,
how do you
it could
take that?
go, it could go all the way back to it being an issue being brought up here. And conditional use could be revoked because of it.
By the conditional uses back to planning commission and then being revoked due to not following the conditions set forth.
Honestly, that's the good part about a conditional use.
Also going to be very difficult with a development where you're putting in permanent infrastructure to revoke.
Even if they lose it, then you're left with, still you've got a lot that's not being taken care of.
I'm gonna walk through some of the numbers and then try to wrap up. So does 10 food trucks seem like too many based on our discussion this evening, or would you guys like to
I would say yes.
max it at a number that I would entertain?
Why do you say yes?
For 10 food trucks,
There's 10 on 0.89 down there, right?
it's less than an acre. Well, if you figure each truck by itself is 14 by 10, we say 240 feet. You got 10 of them. And you gotta allow for parking. See. For working, I don't see the math working.
Also remind you guys that the one along Highway 102 is highway commercial, so.
Yeah.
And this is neighborhood commercial, so maybe you don't want the use to be as intense as the one that's along the highway.
So before you go through all of that, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
You know, I'm struggling with this a little bit. I agree with you. I see the positive of, you know, the vibrancy of our community and the walkability and all that goes with that. And my challenge with this is that it's not a permanent, structured, type dwelling or restaurant. And so what happens when food truck's not a thing anymore, or they can't seem to fill those spaces and it's just one at a time and it's not doing what its intended use is. And some studies, based on what little research I've done, show that and potentially increase property value around it, due to noise and traffic and cleanliness and the potential for not being able to fill each of those spaces. So I just wanna say out loud that although I agree with you on the walkability and my desire for that, I think there is a better use in this to have something more permanent.
I have a problem with the conditional use with just a conceptual plan and not a true plan that's more specific.
That's why you set the conditions on it, so you can do it on the real
Well, I mean,
thing.
we're at use. I'm just saying my opinion,
We've
my
never-
opinion until I get.
This is the first step in the process.
I would go along with the random number you throw at it. I think 10 is high, but I also think like the lower that number is, the less feasible this makes it as a business.
I will add some information, not a question you asked.
Yeah, if you'll come up to just so they can hear for the record.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I understand a lot of these concerns, really any development that would go here. There would certainly be a lot of concerns as far as how that affects the neighbors and the surrounding property. I will say, as far as the compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood, the developer project, not the property owner, but his cousin, who's the developer, actually lives in the subdivision immediately north of the site. And part of the reason why they're going with the food truck is their thought is that they would get a lot of traffic from the surrounding neighborhoods that would be multimodal. Obviously, with the sidewalk improvements, we're expanding the trail there as well, so you'd have a little bit more walking traffic than just only vehicle traffic like you have on the side out here. And then you know, again, a lot of the buffer requirements can help address some of the ways that this could affect the neighbors, especially lighting. Any kind of commercial parking lot that would be required for the other uses that are permitted would have lighting concerns along with it and some other noise as well. And certainly the goal here is to, if this is approved, develop a site plan that is very considerate of the neighbors and addressing a lot of the concerns that were raised earlier to this use. But again, the goal is for this to be an amenity. You know, anecdotally, I think food trucks that I've been to are ones that I was already in the area for some other purpose or lived close to them. I go to food trucks a lot. And so again, really understand a lot of the more technical concerns. I think some of those, as staff communicated, well, are fully capable of those restrictions on us if that, you know, is something that you think would help address it. If not, but we're totally open to to adjusting what, you know, the result of the CUP is, and all the any conditions that you all would like to apply to it that you think would be a good solution for some of the concerns that it raised. I know restricting the number of food trucks or lowering it from 10 is something that we're definitely open to. Again, there's a breakover point at which, you know, that becomes not feasible financially, but we're definitely happy to go below 10, and so kind of reduce some of the intensity on this site, since it is a little bit different than the zoning of the site that's just north of us here. But again, open to the conditions and additional conversation if you all would like to see.
What's your breakover point? I mean, obviously it's a point of contention, right, with the number of food.
Yeah, sure. You know, as we reduce them, assuming that we're able to reduce the parking as well, not necessarily that we have to be about 3 to 1. If we need to go above that, I think we could probably make it work. I think 4 to 5 is what the developer mentioned is kind of the minimum that they can see as this being feasible. And again, hopefully we'd be able to reduce some of the paved area that we'd have to construct if we're going to go down that low. But we'd also be able to reduce some of the landscape seating area outdoors. So as long as we're able to reduce some of the other infrastructure costs, somewhat commensurate with how many food trucks we reduce, I think we're in the neighborhood of 5, we're feasible on this project.
Thank you. What's the site plan look out with the sewer connection? What does the site plan look like with the sewer connection?
So before we go spend a bunch of money on a septic designer to analyze that system, we wanted to make sure that we could get the use approved. But ideally, we would have somebody take a look at that and see if that existing system is capable of treating the flow from the trucks. And then if not, we'd look at trying to tie it to city sewer. But the issue is that closest manhole, my recollection, is on the street in the subdivision north of Townview. So it's quite a reach to get over there. There's nothing that I'm aware of at this time crossing Townview. So that's why we were going with trying to stay on septic until some other improvement brought sewer closer to us to connect to. Ideally, if there was sewer there, we'd much prefer to connect to that, for sure. But also, you know, as far as this discussion earlier about Basswo's grease, these would have a grease trap, just like generates that waste wood. And then I know ADH has some guidance that came out more recently about exactly how the services for food trucks have to be set up, the sewer services to each pad, because each one would have its own water sewer line. I think we could, our goal is to try to meter that off the existing meters, but that's something we'd have to get into with utilities. So I don't know the answer on all that yet, but that.
Well, I was mainly asking about what does it look like if that opens up on the north side to have improvements?
Like for us to make them, we'd have to see what
I didn't know if you ran a site plan to look at what that would.
Yeah, I know. I think it was over 300 feet to get to that manhole, and it would have to come.
I'm saying, like,
it's too high.
Would you put a drive through there? Would you?
Oh, you mean what would we do where the septic is right now? Oh, we don't have any plans to put anything else there. Man, drive wouldn't be required. It's already got on the site plan, fire access.
How much is it?
And then if we, you know, we would have to submit a CUP amendment request. We wanted to change to more food trucks, which obviously something that. Yeah, we've got to fit detention in there too. I don't know exactly where that septic field is located. We've not done a survey on it yet, but whatever area of that is not septic will have some sort of stormwater infrastructure right there. So I don't see anything honestly being able to go in that area in the future, unless they just completely demo the entire site, buildable structure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Curtis.
C3, in that whole area. Cross the street and
Not like.
obviously not Tuscany, but
Tuscany, but it's the other three corners and. Yeah.
Yeah. Including on the master plan, all those parcels.
Correct.
That if you remember, for the one that's just south of 71072, which is the mixed, where we did the commercial up front. And then the less intense, housing right around it
Back, yeah.
is what we had, what was approved for that originally.
Pickleball courts are also C3.
Can you go back to the vicinity map? Diana?
Pickleball courts are also C3.
Headed there now.
It's north right on the side. Yeah, that goes all the way down, including, the next lot is, next 3.5 acres as well.
The lot to the east of it is on the land use plan. What is that supposed to be?
I don't think the one to the east is included in the commercial.
I think it's arts, medium low density residential, it's right east of it.
Yeah, cause that whole back sliver, yeah. You're right.
It's kind of an anomaly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's medium, low medium, I think.
Yeah.
That's on that color. I guess gonna pull up. That's.
For the purposes of keeping us moving forward.
Yep.
There you go. Instead of 10. Would y'all consider a max number of, I wrote a number down here of 7. And obviously up for debate.
Kind of like Brandon's thought was that the whole use doesn't fit, right?
That's fine, but I have to, before we.
I'm just
Yeah.
going down the road.
I mean, before we vote on it and entertain a motion, we have to go through what's requested. So if you guys want me to leave it at 10, I can leave it at 10. Or we could, if it gets approved, then it would be 10. Or if we think that 10 is too many, then that's the reason I was entertaining a less number.
So what number could you live with were it approved? Is what everyone needs to consider.
Exactly.
I think it lays out with 8 pretty good. 7's okay. You know,
Number.
to the point of getting rid of parking, I don't think 7's gonna change my mind on how many parking stalls should be there. Now, if we wanted to adjust the outside landscape seating area, I think I would be okay with that.
I really think the house, not knowing exactly how much seating, it really kind of puts a big question on how many parking spaces. So I think if we maintain a similar ratio, but understand that in the large scale, that could be, I think we would need to work through that definitely. Is 3 really the right number, based on square footage?
I'm uncomfortable.
Just so I can get a frame of reference as well. How many do we have on the highway side?
3 to 1. Actually, they're above 3 to 1.
But how many food trucks do we have out here?
We'll have 11.
11, because we just expanded.
I'm uncomfortable telling a developer after he's already came to us with a proposal, hey, I'm proposing X amount.
Okay.
Yes. For me to sit up here and tell him, no, you get this, I don't feel like that's my place. My place, I think, is to approve the proposal that he comes to us with.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I'll leave it at 10.
And they come back if
You just said 5.
Well, then let him make a request at 5. I didn't hear him say, he said we could go down to 5. I didn't hear him say, hey, I'm changing my request down to 5.
Okay.
State makes them.
That's kind of the point of the conditional use.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not, I don't feel like
Okay.
it's my place to dictate.
What was the reasoning then to bring it down from 10?
My place is to approve a
The
proposal.
intensity.
Yeah.
Sits on how you all would vote on this, but if there's a difference between it getting denied and the big load back and we reduce it. Some number between 5 and 10, I think our preference would definitely be reduce it. 5 and 10 to address all the concerns.
I don't know that that'll make a difference, but if you wanna say 5, then we can consider 5 as well.
Split the difference, make it 6.
Even does work out better for their layout.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So I can understand.
Is this conditional use also dependent upon the whole septic sewer issue?
No,
That
right
would be
now?
development, then they'll,
That waits.
yes, you'll set the conditions that they will have to meet with submittal of their development plan. So, and with any development plan, they've got to meet those septic and sewer requirements, connections with.
this is the use of the site.
Yeah, you're setting conditions on what you think would help make that use compatible with the surrounding area.
Why we can say 7. And
You guys have the right to modify any of their proposed condition, like any of their proposed way that they set this up.
And you can set conditions on their lighting, their parking, their hours.
states can make this sewer.
That's additional landscaping.
All that now.
Yeah.
That's the house. I'm stuck on the house. It just doesn't seem to fit this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the intent is just to use that as weather. Instead.
Yeah, I get it, but
And
that's
back pressure.
so much work to get that to what you. That's not my concern. Yeah, then
Well, so you can put conditions on that, that house will only be
What's your number?
for those specific purposes.
There it is.
So for example, we would need to specify that dwelling can only be for commercial purposes of patrons dining.
Seating, restaurant, yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be a dwelling, but the whole thing, if you deny them the house, they have to build bathrooms then elsewhere. You have to provide public restrooms.
And then they are also looking at using the garage as storage.
I'm on, it's kind of like a detached food court. Like, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it would, if we were trying to have a mixed, turn that to a mixed use structure with commercial first floor or whatever. And residential, it's just, it wouldn't be financially feasible to meet fire code for that at all. So that's not. Or they can put a restriction on that, but that's not even an intent that the developer would just. We have to have restroom facilities, we can't have outdoor storage for materials for the vendors. And it would be nice to have a seating area that's not outdoors. And we've already got the structure there, might as well use it for those purposes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're picking up.
I
You guys
picked,
do have the right to do that or not, whatever you want to do.
I wrote down 6.
We didn't talk about the hours of operation.
I'm getting there,
Let's go down the list.
Yeah.
getting there.
Awesome.
Okay. Still on number 3. All right. I'm not gonna argue about the size of the pad. I'm gonna move on from that.
What's the number for food trucks?
Yes.
Okay. Go 6.
But we do need to talk about the size
Mhm.
of the food trucks. There's different, they range different sizes.
Why do we need to talk about the size?
Whatever.
What were the issues?
I think the food truck size might determine some parking situations because larger food trucks could house more employees.
We, okay, you could go about that from an employee standpoint though, too. But
How are we gonna regulate how many employees are being?
same way we regulate how many food trucks they have. but
Enforce it, how am I gonna know? There's 3 people in the truck that came in 3 cars or.
I will say we do have one issue with the food truck that on the width, it's the food truck. Then they've added on a deck in the front and a deck on the back,
I agree with that.
and then it took up the side.
Yeah.
And
don't-
we haven't been able to,
I would imagine this situation lends itself to be a little different because there is that dedicated seating. So, but yeah, I think that's something we should address, but as far as the food truck size. Like, I'm not a food truck expert, right? So,
I mean, if you don't, it doesn't matter, then that's fine, but
Yeah.
we just
did
need to
set
know.
that- Yeah, we did set that condition with, the other food truck order. Very specific sizes.
So they have they have different ones or the same ones that are listed in here?
So this project didn't propose food truck sizes at all. When the other one came through, they had specific sizes proposed and approved. They were 14 to 16.
why don't we,
Is there any kind of regulation on the size of the food truck and the number of employees that are allowed to be in a food truck at that time for safety purposes and kind of a
We all look at.
food truck safety?
I'm gonna try to keep us out of all that because we're really just considering whether.
the use,
Well, here's why, because I can't determine how many employees are gonna drive themselves to work or ride together. That's not. I can only determine that every employee will drive themselves. That means every employee will have a. Whether they carpool or not, I don't know. I can't judge off that, but I can assume that every employee will drive themselves to work. And so if that's the case, then the increased number of employees increases the number of parking spots and then adding patron parking on top of that.
But don't they already meet the parking requirements as we would require another?
Well, that's what we had just originally said, because we didn't know what to
Yeah.
expect for a food truck.
And they already, like the last food truck already gave you the size of the food trucks they were proposing anyway, because their pads met that minimum. But these pads are much larger than what was proposed on the other site, and they didn't give us truck sizing. So that's why we.
probably don't know, right?
Right,
The only reason the pads are that size, we wanted one contiguous slab instead of broken up slabs, and we wanted 10 food trucks, and that's what fit in that space. So I don't think there's a plan to have a 30-foot food truck on there, but if that's if we want to keep the pads the same size and add some restrictions of the truck itself, something that we're. happy with.
Personally, I don't wanna set a food truck size because I don't know anything about food trucks, but I would feel comfortable setting. Condition that they can't build decks or any accessory structures off of the food trucks. We can evaluate the slab size at the large scale. Is that fair? Okay. I'm for it.
Hours of operation.
We can have a discussion around that.
fine with the entrance or the pedestrian access and parking requirements. With the way that they're set up in showings.
I would,
3 to 1.
3 to 1 for parking and then 10-foot minimum for
That's a lot.
pedestrian access to the trucks.
it's a lot less now if we've reduced it to 6 food trucks.
3 to 1 plus indoor seating.
We definitely need to consider the indoor seating.
Mhm.
So they'll have to do the math for the square footage of the home, outdoor seating, and the number of food trucks.
Yes. We clarify that as the square footage of the indoor seating of the home, because I think it's multi-story. So when I'm seating.
Saying like gross or net,
Yeah, it's like basically net of the seating area, as opposed to the whole.
I think that's fine. I think that's what we do for restaurants, right?
Yeah.
So we're at 24
No, it'll be,
at this point.
It'll be less than that because we don't know the net.
Well, I think
Parking spaces per food truck shall be we're at 8. It's 6,
have
18.
maybe 24 spaces. I'm guessing.
Oh, it was 23 something,
If you do
if that's the
31.
floor.
But that's all seating and bathrooms.
So set
Kitchen.
a minimum.
And we don't know how they're gonna renovate the interior.
Set a minimum?
Yeah. Well, 25.
We'll say that front set of parking is 7 stalls, so if we delete that. We,
Oh,
otherwise we'd have.
that fronts the food trucks?
Yeah, for sure. Imagine if you took any off, it'd be off of the outside.
Yeah, I mean, if we were able to reduce the parking by 7 stalls, we just not build that front parking lot. There'd be no reason to build a 24-foot drive aisle for 2 parking stalls in that case, and we just keep whatever's directly adjacent to the truck area in the back. It would be 23 foot.
Would this be one of those conditions where like, if there was complaints about parking in back, we could say you've got to add parking? Right, that's within our right as a planning commission?
And they could designate that other area as future parking if it's determined that they need it in the future too.
I will say this, and I'm not with staff, but the developer owns the parcel, I think it's, I'll say it's 2 parcels south of this. I think it might be the one that you all mentioned, splitting the front being commercial and the back being splitting. Longer term, there's the intent to put a parking area for that structure sufficient for it on that site, probably in the next year after this project is done. And the idea would be that we could have some of the employees for this park at that location. And that would free up some space. And I know that's not a set in stone thing that you all can use as a condition for this, but.
So again, I'm sorry, just on the parking, the math in my head. So we have 18 parking spaces at this point based on 6 food trucks, right?
How about this?
Plus 2,000, potentially 2,000 square feet of seating, which is another 10.
I think it's lower than.
It'd be a lot lower than 2
Could
though.
be, that's a two-story,
And out.
well, that's a two-story house, so they're looking at just the first level from what I've
I think where they would see.
So
Storage.
it's 1174.
So the upstairs is for storage purposes.
Could be, they haven't said,
They're gonna use it
the
for.
garage for sure.
How about this, Brandon?
That-
How about we do, we're at 18 with just the food trucks, right? The net floor space for the seating of the house is going to be less than what we've considered earlier. Why don't we make a minimum of 25 and then calculate it the other way? So you can calculate it or minimum of 25, whatever's greater.
Insufficient.
I think that's eliminating food for 4 food trucks. 5 stalls. And then to his point, if they don't have to build that drive aisle, you can do some head in right there where those 7 stalls are on the west. Yeah.
Do we know what time the current food truck area closes? Is it 9 o'clock?
6 to 10
It's
as well.
6 to 10.
On the highway.
They're allowed hours. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely
It's
on the
on the
highway.
highway. Yeah.
I was gonna suggest like, 9 to 8 or 9 to 9. 9 to 8 maybe.
And this says hours of operation. It doesn't mean, I mean, to me, that means like when you're open.
Right, cause you still got that extra hour before and after for prep and then after breakdown.
So you can
Business.
do 2 different, you can do the hours of operation of the food trucks versus the hours at the site. I mean, people coming in to clean up an hour after 10, people coming to clean up an hour or set up an hour before 6 kind of thing. If you want to set up a.
Yeah, those hours are mainly considering vendors, which is a larger time period than just the customers.
But I understand.
website says 8, Jeff.
Over here?
Google.
Yeah, that's what it says.
PM, Sunday, 6 PM.
All right, well, Google's always right.
Yeah.
What time do they open on Google?
But for-
AM. Yeah.
They're not open for breakfast. This one is planning on being.
So
If it's not open that early from a traffic perspective, that helps a little bit of that, right? Talking out loud. If it was not open until 9. Good majority of traffic's already.
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of people going to work.
Well, the state don't allow road maintenance until 9 after, I mean, they don't allow contractors to start till 9.
Home builders
Allow-
or home building from that way earlier in other businesses, the noise ordinance. I think 10's the end for the noise ordinance, but I'm not certain.
So what about 7 to 8?
What about summer?
I don't know.
What did we do with the pickleball? Like with the tavern or?
I think it was later though, but it's indoors. As far as the tavern, it's in.
the restaurant, but it might be till 9, 10 o'clock. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's at least 9, no.
Yeah, I think.
This is also, I think, recommended on the parameter that high school has curfew at 11, so we just gave them a range to propose. But they would have to follow noise ordinances and
What about 7 to 9? I see 2 nods.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about nice weather and a place for people to gather.
Right.
I'm thinking even Fridays and Saturdays, you could
Yeah.
go a little later, but 7 to 9 is sufficient.
Right.
For your reference, the hours of operation for the pickleball court, the outdoor courts were from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Indoor, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Bar and restaurant, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the pro shop, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Just for reference.
All right.
yeah, outdoor stuff was shutting down at 9.
So with all of that, I'm going to entertain a motion.
Sorry, do you want to set parameters for landscaping or no?
I think we have Title 15 for that.
Yeah.
So with that, I would entertain a motion for conditional use 2520 Townview Food Truck Court. So mobile food vendor and food truck, with the noted changes that we discussed.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve conditional use 2520 Townview Food Truck Court. Again, with the outline changes that we all just went over.
Greg, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. If you will do a roll call vote for me, please.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Evan Murphy,
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda,
No.
Ben Lewis,
No.
Curtis Ramsey,
No.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
No,
Jeff Seifarth.
I'm a yes, so we're tied.
I don't know, Attorney.
It'd be my position then that it does not pass.
It can be appealed. So yes, your option is to appeal to the council. All right, next on the agenda this evening is also a public hearing. This is for rezone 2508 with Johnson Trust. The request is from A1 to RE at 12,600 Huber Road, 5.95 acres. Is the applicant here to give us a quick overview?
Hi, I'm Leah Brett. I'm here for Susan Johnson. She's our client, with Pastor and Associates Land Surveying. We're requesting to rezone from A1 in order to then split the property so that Miss Johnson can deed the western portion of that property to her daughter.
Diane, you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, this property is located here on Huber and North Fallen, also known as Highway 279 South. Jersey Junior High is located just to the east of the intersection and Benton County to the south. As we discussed earlier in the meeting, they are doing a track split on this property. So they're going to have lot 1 will be 3.16 acres and lot 2 is 2.79 acres, and it's a minimum of 5 acres to remain as agriculture, and they're doing RE because that does give them a little bit more flexibility for if they want to have, a small, garden or some farm type animals than just a regular R1. Lee stated they're just planning on deeding the western parcel to the daughter, so it's not being sold to any other outside parties right now. Residential estate, as I said, is intended to provide for and protect the rural residential environment, to establish for areas particularly suited for rural residential uses on larger lots in conjunction with the raising of crops. And it, has access here from Huber Road. There's already one existing driveway, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And thank you, I was trying to remember in my brain because I didn't write it down. And Huber Road is a minor arterial with 90 feet of right of way for the master street plan. So with the concurrent track split, they have dedicated that 45 feet of right of way along Huber Road, and also a 20-foot utility easement at the back of the right of way. So if it is widened in the future, there is room for those utilities. The comprehensive plan has this area shown for the future as commercial. We hold commercial due to the location of the junior high next door. So that was the reason for that being commercial. That's node 8. And the discussion of node 8 in the comprehensive plan, it is a mix of commercial uses that would be to prioritize at the northwest intersection of Vaughn Road and Holloway Road, as this area will serve both students. Sorry, I don't know why I'm hoarse all of a sudden. Both students and families accessing the new junior high school and surrounding residences, development, and also be pedestrian friendly. Of course, if you've been out there currently, nothing out there is pedestrian friendly other than the sidewalk in front of the junior high school. So based on the goals of the comprehensive plan, the request to RE is not consistent. But with the surrounding zoning and uses currently, everything here is currently agriculture. They are 5-acre lots and they are being used for agriculture and or large lot large lot parcels. And of course, Benton County to the southeast, southwest, same thing. It is much larger lots because that's, like a 40-acre lot there, and they're used for agriculture type uses. So based on the current surrounding uses and zoning in this area, the rezone request for RE is consistent with what's currently there at this moment. And I also have listed in your packet there for comprehensive plan alignment as to when it's consistent or not consistent. So if you have any questions on that, definitely let me know. Let me know if you have any other questions. Move my mind. Okay.
Do we know where the 38 acres Walmart purchased there in regards to where this is at?
Here.
Is it across the street or down the street? Do you-
Hey, do you know?
Walmart purchased? That's on 72.
The 38 acre, that was.
The 38 acres is down here. The Enterprise is what I think purchased on 72, not Walmart stores.
I don't.
Just want to make sure,
Any of them being owned.
just gonna make sure it's not a neighbor. Or that.
Walmart.
When we talk about compatibility, my understanding, Alan, was that they bought down this way for is where the 38 acres was. The Enterprise has bought a lot on the northern part to tie in back in, to Little Road and stuff. I
As
believe.
of right now, there is. Fish hatchery, that's school. As of right now, there is nothing owned by
Okay.
Walmart or
Okay.
it's all personal, you know, like
Okay.
individual people, not even LLCs. Sounds like that's news to me.
Are there any questions or comments before we open it up to the public?
Yeah, I have a question. How do we balance like the comprehensive plan and not being consistent, but consistent on the surroundings, right? Talk me through that.
You can have an inconsistency with the comprehensive plan due to reasons such as they are just subdividing. It's still a high dense, I mean,
Large parcel.
yes, a large parcel instead of, and they're doing it in order to be conforming. But in a residential estate, your minimum size is 2.5 acres. Correct. So it's just like that step below agricultural. If they were wanting to develop this property for something else.
Could they do that later? Could they come back? Want to move to the commercial?
Sure.
And to me, it's one thing if you're going less dense than what it is, than what it's slated for in the land use plan. But it's another thing if you're going more dense, because that's an impact to the city, to the infrastructure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Future planning, so.
Good way to put it. Thank you.
And it was, say, for example, they had this 5 acres and the Johnsons sold it to Walmart. And they say, hey, we want to put in a subdivision. Then that would be a different type thing to look at with the compatibility with the land use plan. And that rezone, rather than just being needed because of a track split.
That help.
Yes, thank you.
Or a use that's gonna be relatively identical to what it is currently.
We didn't used to require rezones when people would do track splits. And we'd end up with all these little 1 acre pieces. And then we had all these non-conforming parcels. So this way we keep the land use, their actual use of the land identified and consistent. What it's
But at the same time, by allowing them to do something like this, right? I totally understand it. We now have 2 pieces of real estate that, in essence, no one could buy and put anything on. I mean, They're designated commercial, they're a little smaller, so maybe you could get something on it. Whereas when they're larger one pieces, right, we have little pockets of one piece real estates all over the city that no one can buy and do anything.
It's like this last one, that's an acre.
Yeah.
Which they can do something with, and then we have other where you might have 3 parcels put together to do a development.
Buddy.
They're looking for what they want to develop, so if they are looking for commercial, then at some time later down the road, then they may do that.
Okay, the market kind of dictates what it's gonna be.
It does.
And so it would be no different than a potential developer going to buy one piece of property. Rather than if this one, for instance, gets split, they would just have to buy 2 pieces. You know what I mean? To me, it's kind of rough when there's no other commercial out there. And then it's kind of like a property rights thing to me personally.
No, and I'm
Yeah, I'm with you.
with it, it just. I think that's part of the reason we have these rules set up is to not allow these.
Yeah.
Chunks to divulge into the city everywhere. 'Cause I mean, the argument I would have is this is where everything is going.
Yeah, it's just not there
It's
yet.
not there yet.
And if it didn't match the surrounding stuff, I would maybe have a little more problem with it. But yeah, I see where you're coming from, man, for sure.
Well, we've also kind of changed the focus a little bit with some of the work we're doing on the new downtown that kind of shifts it a little bit from this side to the other side in a way. So it's kind of that balance instead of a lot coming down. Cause I think we also, as we were planning some of this, was potentially what the new road was gonna do or what we anticipated as well, which is probably not gonna materialize. So I'm not saying we would adjust it when we redo the comprehensive plan, but I think that was part of our thinking as well, whenever we were looking down this way. I am going to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. If anyone wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the rezone 2508 from A1 to RE, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name, any questions, concerns you might have. Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. And third and final call. Then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Let's go through what we need to consider for the rezone. Is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? I think we kind of hashed through this a little bit, but I mean, technically, if you look at it, it's not on paper, but I think the discussion around things have changed a little bit. The fact the road's not materializing like was thought of back 5 years ago now, whenever we talked about the plan. But it doesn't, I don't think, eliminate the potential opportunity for commercial in the future in this particular case. Does anybody disagree with that? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I do believe that it's still compatible. There's large parcels, still lots of agriculture out in this area. Does anybody disagree with that? Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, today, I think, the uses from a residential, would still be, permitted and compatible as of today in this area. Does anybody disagree with that? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I don't believe that it offers a benefit just to this landowner. Does anybody disagree with that? And there was no public opposition. Any additional questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we entertain a motion? Then I would entertain a motion for the rezone 2508, the Johnson Trust from A1 to RE.
Mr. Tony, I'll make a motion to rezone Johnson Trust from A1 to RE.
Second.
Motion and a second. If you will do a roll call vote for me, please.
Ben Lewis,
Yes.
Curtis Ramsey,
Yes.
Brendan Svoboda,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifert.
I'm a yes as well. Thank you.
I'd like to step in and just ask if we could go back to the previous conditional use and those, give reasons for the record of why the no votes on denying it, so that we just have it in our records. Get it be appealed or whatever.
I would agree with that. It'd be beneficial to the council.
So let's just go by person then. So who was the first one to, sorry, it's out, I mean, we'll just go in that order. So Brandon, can you state a factor two as to why you were opposed?
Although I wasn't opposed to it being the space being used for food purposes. It is in the condition. I was opposed to it. Because I felt like there was a better use with a permanent dwelling. Or not dwelling, I wouldn't be a dwelling, permanent building.
Who was next?
That was me.
Ben.
Yeah, I'd agree, but also, yeah, I think I mentioned that there would be better uses that were served by right for the city in that area.
Curtis,
Same, but I also thought that it doesn't fit the area. You know, we talked about the difference between being in the neighborhood and out on the highway. And to me, I think putting it there, I can totally see the argument where it harms the value of the existing homes there.
Can I add to mine that I had said that out loud as well and wanted to make sure it got in there, the potential for a negative impact on property values. Because of the type of business.
Tony,
That's not the best use, C3, general uses. With the proposal, as proposed, put it that way, as proposed.
Mayor Bill?
I just want to make a clarification, make sure I understand, just listening to you. So the vote failed. And it's not automatically come to the council. They want to come to the council, they have to appeal, correct? Oh, cause I thought I heard it say, oh, it goes to the council. So it does not, they appeal it.
I said just in case.
Okay, I had a hard time here.
In case they appeal to the council, we would like it in the record. Why they voted no.
I want to make sure that.
I told
It
him,
wasn't you, it was before you.
I told him his option was to appeal.
I was, yeah, responding to what you said, not.
If you weren't
I had a heart.
Church and sit up front, you'd be able
To turn my bell tones up.
I did say, appeal though, Bill, for him, so, but thanks. All right, next on the agenda, is development, 2405, Centerton Food Truck Addition, preliminary plans. And it makes a street agreement. This is 700 West Centerton Boulevard. As a reminder, zoned, C2. How are you guys tonight?
Good. I'm Jake Shavens with Odyssey Engineering, representing the owners with me here tonight. Following up on the conditional use improvement approval permit we received back in October. We're presenting a large scale portion of this tonight. We have addressed all comments and conditions with maybe 2 or 3 other small comments that planning staff had for us. We're requesting no waivers or variances.
All right, Kayla?
Yes, so this is the other infamous food truck we've been referring to all night. The parcel is located along West Centerton Boulevard, directly east of Harps, west of Centerton Self-Storage, and northeast of the Centerton Municipal Complex. The applicant is proposing an expansion to the existing food truck court to include the addition of 5 food trucks, parking, a large metal fancy ice machine, cooler, seating, and a playground area. Property received a conditional use from the Planning Commission on November 4th, 2025 to allow up to 11 food trucks on site, which superseded all previous conditional uses. As a reminder, this parcel is zone C2, which is highway commercial. The setbacks are listed in your packet for you. So as part of the large scale development, there were 3 8x16 food trucks, 17 by 14 food trucks, a 10 by 10 walk-in cooler to be installed on the existing trash pad and inside the existing trash enclosure on the north side of the property, ice machine, and then 4 vending machines under the proposed metal canopy, which is 110 by 30, and then the metal canopy is that large. A playground and 15 picnic tables. Property is served by Centerton Water and Sewer. The site accounts for the future relocation of a water main along Centerton Boulevard, which will be relocated to the proposed utility easement along the east side of the development with the Highway 102 widening project. Plans have been approved by Centerton Utilities, pending 1 minor comment on the location of 1 tree. That's the one on the east side that's sitting inside of the easement. It just needs to get moved east a little bit out of the easement. Portion of this property is located within special flood hazard areas, zone A, E, and X. It needs to move with. Yeah. A portion of the property is located within the floodway. There are no wetlands on the site. A floodplain permit has been submitted. It's pending review and approval by the city engineer / flood administrator. For drainage, and Alan, you can feel free to correct me if this is wrong. This development sheet flows to the existing stream buffer on the property to the east. The proximity of the floodplain, the proposed increase in runoff has no adverse impact to the downstream properties. The existing stream buffer will provide treatment for this development. Therefore, no on-site stormwater management has been provided, and that drainage report has been approved by the city engineer. For the adjacent street agreement, Centerton Boulevard is Highway 102, which is an RDOT controlled road, and it's a major arterial. There are RDOT plans in process to widen Centerton Boulevard, so all of the required right-of-way and easements are being acquired by RDOT if they haven't already. The only thing that this development will provide are street treatment, the RDOT right-of-way, and a fee in lieu for 5 foot of the sidewalk, since our typical section requires 10 feet of sidewalk on both sides of a major arterial. And the total for that fee in lieu comes out to $13,911.42. And staff recommends approval of that adjacent street agreement, pending the approval from the Public Works Director for that estimate. He just hasn't looked at it yet. For parking, 3 parking spaces per truck are required per the approved conditional use permit. All parking will be paved. This development has a total of 36 spaces provided, which is above the requirement. And as a note, the only area that will remain gravel is the section on the west side of the property where the original 6 food trucks are. So they're leaving the rest of the site. For lighting, there's 1 light being proposed at the entrance and 2 lights are being provided within the landscape parking lot islands. And then there are lights on the canopy around all of the seating area between the food truck lines. For landscaping, 1 thing that's important to know, I don't think this was submitted right when Title 15 got enacted, but they did have their best effort to meet it. I think they did end up meeting all of the Title 15 requirements. So there are trees being provided along Centerton Boulevard outside of the RDOT right-of-way. Centerton Utilities has approved the location of the trees, and they had to since they are located within a utility easement, but they do maintain an 8-foot distance from the sewer line, which is the code minimum with Title 15. So there are also trees provided within landscape islands, and then a continued wall of shrubs being provided along the north and north, east, and south edges of the property. containing 82 shrubs, with 41 of them being evergreen, so I think they alternate. So one of the only things we didn't get with this is that 10-foot landscape buffer along the frontage, and that's due to all of the utilities that are along there, but I think they got a good compromise. So we do recommend approval of the landscaping plan pending the relocation of the one tree that Centerton Utilities has identified. For the trash enclosure, a new dumpster enclosure composed of steel wall panels and steel wall panel gates is proposed on the west side of the parking lot. The previous enclosure to the north is proposed to remain, and they're gonna put a walk-in cooler in there. And it's a brick enclosure with those rainbow painted gates that exist on site right now. So there are some minor outstanding staff comments on the plans and adjacent street agreement. One thing I did want to bring up, which Jake, you could probably address, on their most current turn exhibit, it does show the truck going into your landscaped island by the dumpster. So that'll need to be updated to show that it's not going to hit the tree that's in that island. But other than that, everything else is relatively minor. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have just one quick question on the lighting. I'm fine with what we've got there, but is RDOT gonna require anything in addition to, at the entrance? Or have we checked with that, or is that even an issue?
They've got their one lighting at the entrance. Right there.
And I'm saying like they're not gonna want anything in addition to that.
Not typically.
Okay. Do we feel like that's sufficient for safety?
One light. I think that's what we have along other.
What you do for roads.
Right, but along 102, it is extremely dark.
That's my only
Down.
thought on that.
Yeah, I think for the parking lot, we actually gonna put two heads. Right now it's one head. It actually lights up pretty well the current parking spots. What I was thinking is actually putting two heads up, that way it covers everything. I think one head was already good enough.
More though I was thinking more at the entrance.
He's saying along.
It's fine with your lighting and for your,
Along the highway.
on the highway. I'm fine with the interior stuff, but I was more concerned about the safety on the highway.
Okay.
How wide their property is. Normally it's 1 per 300 feet. I don't know how wide they're.
Less than 300 feet.
It's less than. Yeah.
I mean, if you're meeting the requirement.
Well, generally, there wouldn't be any requirements. It's along an RDOT right of way, but I think since this right of way are you guys doing an expansion at any time soon to the RDOT right of way besides the trail?
RDOT's widening it.
RDOT's widening it and installing the 5 feet of sidewalk, and then we can use that fee in lieu in the future to add the additional 5 feet, or use it to help pay for the 10 feet on the other side. Which means it'll be 10 feet on the south side and 5 foot on the north.
Any other questions or comments?
Would just like to clarify briefly you said our auto turn deal. We briefly discussed that at the last conditional use permit meeting. We talked about putting a modified or rolled curb in that area to allow trailers to be able to bounce up on top of that.
Just don't hit the tree. Yeah. The tree's gone.
That's true. I know this is not a requirement or anything of that sort, just curious, thinking about the new aspect, gonna look really good.
Enhancement.
We've got the existing with all the gravel. Is there any conversation around the future of paving that to kind of make the whole thing look?
So what I was thinking was actually adding some topsoil and actually soil. So put soil on it versus the gravel. So because it's what I talked to my subs is like they can do that. They can scrape some of the gravel. So the height is the same, and then we can just put some soil on top of the gravel. So it will be solid. Cause I mean, it's technically the back of the current food trucks is just kind of like where the owners of the trucks to get out through that, but no, I agree. I don't like the gravel either. But potentially we do this hard. I mean, if I have enough budget, I'll go ahead and do it this time. If not, then I'll save some money and I'll do it eventually.
And with the addition of the parking and somebody on the planning, asking this, but are you planning to have the La Fagoda food truck get rid of their parking, their seating decks now that you'll have additional seating?
So the second food truck,
Yeah.
Fogata. So actually he actually sent me the plans of the truck. Actually, it's a box because he is a customer from China and opens like that. So those, and I think Paul, you were part of that. But the requirement from the fire code was to put, those around it because of safety concern.
The code, it was over 16 inches in height that required a safety railing. The solution that they came up with.
So the back's not just a add-on wood deck, it's
No.
part of the truck?
Yeah, it's part of the truck, so technically they can, if they can, I talk to the owner and say, oh, I can cut them, but
Yeah.
I would damage my trailer, because technically it closes like that, and then the deck is like technically part of the trailer. But, I mean, if there's safety concerns or anything, I mean, I can move, I guess.
But your new ones won't have any.
I went out of it now because, no, the new ones are gonna be smaller ones, so it's gonna be similar to the black one that I have there and the orange one. So they're gonna be smaller, 14 by 7 and then 8 by 16. Potentially the first one, the Asian one, it might be too tight. So I'm gonna have to, we might end up with only 10 trailers versus 11 trailers. Because I have a feeling that.
It'd be close.
Yeah. And how that got approved being in the setback. It happened, but to me, it always seemed. That kind of safety issues, we know when people were at that food truck, so they are putting in the bollards to give some added protection, but it does kind of stick out there. And then it also took up the green space. They ended up graveling and took out some green space there. But
Yeah, if it's really close, once we start like developing everything, if I can feel it's a concern, I'm just gonna move it to one of the new spots and we're just gonna leave it there.
And will you return it to grass?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Then I would entertain a motion for development 2405, the Centerton food truck addition, preliminary plans and adjacent street agreement.
Greg, I make a motion to approve development 2405 Centerton Food Truck Edition with the pending outstanding comments to be addressed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda this evening is Centerton Recreation Center preliminary plans. It's at 315 Keller Road. It is zoned C2 and 19.43 acres.
Good evening, staff. So we are here to represent the Centerton Recreation Center. Can't remember the exact square footage of the facility, but it's 144 parking spaces, detention ponds, adjacent street improvements. A small water extension from the north connecting to the subdivision down and stubbing in the south and then in as well along Keller. We have a few minor comments left from staff. I don't know if we need to go over any of them out there or just wait. Fair enough. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, just.
Ayla?
Okay, so the city of Centerton is proposing a 32,000 square foot recreation center, which includes an indoor pool, gym, walking track, community room, 2 party rooms, a warming kitchen, group exercise room, and several support spaces such as admin areas, a locker room. The outdoor area for phase 1 includes a covered patio, flagpoles, and then 144 parking spaces. The recreation center is located along Keller Road, just south of Crystal Cove subdivision and southwest of the Centerton Utilities Field Office and Water Tower. This parcel is zones, this highway commercial, and those setbacks are in your packet for you. The properties to the south are undeveloped A1. There's a house on it right now, but there's no one living there, and that house is, or that whole parcel is for sale. Is the Crystal Cove Townhomes, which we most recently updated the zoning to RTH5. The property to the east is currently undeveloped, zoned A1, and then to the west is undeveloped, zone C2. So for the drainage, the majority of the flow from this property will be directed through a retention pond on the southeast corner of the property and carried offsite through a culvert under Keller. The remainder flows off the property to the northwest. The pond drainage area was delineated to include runoff for the additional phase in the future. However, additional study will be required with additional phases to precisely determine pond function and peak flow reduction. The pond is that fun shape because there's quite a lot of easements and there's a gas riser right in that corner. So they had to update the shape of the pond to account for that. Centerton Water is available on the east side of Keller and Centerton Sewer is available on the west side of Keller. As I mentioned, there's a gas main on our side of the road and there's overhead electric on our side of the road. And that gas riser was associated with associated easement is located on this parcel. Centerton Utilities has not reviewed the latest set of plans, so we request that any PC approval given should be contingent on their approval. I did talk to Malcolm before this meeting and he said that he didn't have any major comments outstanding, but since he hasn't fully reviewed, he might have some minor comments left. And then staff has some remaining comments regarding the electric and utility easements on the property, mostly about trying to combine some of the easements so that we can preserve some of our space, especially on the north side, where we're proposing some landscaping. There's also electric easement up there that we can hopefully move and combine with some other easements. For the adjacent street improvements, the improvements to Keller Road will be completed by the city at the same time as construction for this project, but are paid through a separate budget. So the Keller Road project won't be bid out as part of the Centerton Recreation packet, but it's a separate plan set that'll get bid at the same time, I believe. The improvements will include 12.5 feet of 2-inch overlay and a 8.6 feet of road widening from the north property line to the intersection of Keller Road. Full lanes on this road, including curb and gutter on the west side, street trees, street lights, and a 12-foot trail to meet the master trails plan for McKissick Spring Loop. And then no additional widening will take place on the east side of the road because they don't have the right of way on that side of the road. For parking, there's not really a specific ratio in Title 14 for public recreation spaces like this. And after going through all of the different scenarios based on the building's square footage, staff came to the determination that the public assembly ratio based on occupancy was really high. So our engineers and architects recommended we use the Institute for Transportation Engineers recommendation, which was 1 parking space for every 250 square feet of building. That's a nice middle ground between our parking ratios for offices, which is 300 square feet normally, and then like our retail and recreation, which is 200. So 250 felt like a good middle ground. So based on the square footage, we needed 144 parking spaces for this building, and that's what they met. For lighting, there's lighting provided throughout the site, including at the entrance on Keller and parking lot islands on the building, and around pedestrian paths in the form of columns and bollards. Street lights will be provided along Keller Road with the Keller Road improvements. There are some outstanding comments on the photometric plan as it just needs to be updated to meet the current site plan. And then once that's done, we'll need to evaluate the south parking lot to ensure that it's properly lit, since right now they don't show any parking lot lights in that parking lot. For the dumpster, a dumpster enclosure is proposed on the northwest side of the site. The exit will be made out of the veneer and the gates will be metal. For landscaping, they did follow all of the Title 15 requirements. Please note that the landscape buffer only covers the length of the property being developed, and additional landscaping will be required with the future phases. The site area being untouched to the west contains a large number of trees that we've reserved with this phase. So they're doing a buffer on the north side for Crystal Cove. And then currently the property to the south is A1, so technically with our Title 15 code, they would be required to have a fence and trees. But since that property is for sale and designated as commercial on our land use plan and on a major intersection, we thought that just the row of trees would suffice as buffers since when that turns to commercial, that would be what would be required between the two. There are a number of outstanding comments on the plans regarding easement locations, updating the photometric plan, and then updating details on the site. So we recommend any approval be given contingent on addressing those comments, but the site plan shouldn't change too much. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
Can't go to construction until sewer's approved.
Purple's a sidetrack.
That is correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, you can't hear me nod on the video, huh?
I didn't see you nod from the other side of Tara. So
I didn't.
Any other questions or comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the Centerton Recreation Center preliminary plans along with the landscaping and photo plan and any outstanding comments.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve the Centerton Recreation Center UB 2501 preliminary plans, the lighting plan, the street agreement, and any outstanding staff comments.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? Thank you. All right, under announcements, our next meeting will be 1/6/2026. If you can't be here, please let us know. There is a tech review, I'm assuming this week on the 18th. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Anything from staff or any other final comments?
We have some of our grants January, so just keep your eyes and ears peeled for some dates run into January, but that's been our branding look out at different times.
Jeff's Christian is already working on having those ready to song. Awesome.
With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Motion and a second. You can do what you want. Yes.
South corridor.
It was in the packet.
Okay.